Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Clinic Gym Radio. I am your host, Dr. Josh Satterlee, and today I'm lucky enough to be joined by Dr. Thomas Godfrey. Thomas, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing great, man. Now, Thomas, can you give everybody an idea of who you are and what you do? Because where we're sitting, we're actually at a gym, and he's the big boss man of the clinic here. But
yeah, so like I said, my name is Thomas Godfrey. I graduated from LACC in 2017.
School of Champions right there.
So I am the clinic, I'm the head clinician over here at Lifetime Athletic, which, if you're on the West Coast, you don't know a whole lot about it. It's more of a Midwest, East Coast thing, but essentially it's a 250,000 square foot gym that has pretty much everything that you can imagine in it.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting in a lounge in the tennis area, and there are, 8 indoor tennis courts, and there's got to be at least 2,000 square feet of just lounge space. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, so it's a pretty incredible gym, and there's a couple reasons I want to interview today, one of which is give everybody a perspective of working in, chiropractic doesn't have typically in the past hasn't had a lot of corporate gigs, and this is as close to a corporate gig as chiropractors get. And the second thing is you just graduated a year ago?
Yeah.
Not even a year ago?
Yeah, a little over a year ago, 2017.
December?
Yeah.
Okay, so a year and a month.
Yep.
And you've kind of had for everybody listening, it was not a smooth, easy, hey, I'm going to get out and frickin' butterflies are going to float around and puppies are going to, there were some rough parts there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had the idea that was going to happen, and then some things happened. And
as life often does, plans changed quickly. Right?
Yep, plans changed, and, it's you just kind of roll with it and, go where it takes you.
Yeah, all right. Well, for those listening, let's dive into that side of it real quick because we'll get to the corporate thing in a bit. But so there you are. Basically your family was living here in Vegas. LACC's about a 4 or 5 hour drive?
4 hours, no traffic, and you're doing 85, 90.
Yeah.
Probably doing about 3.5.
6 hours if there's a lot of traffic, right?
Yeah.
So, and your family lived here in Vegas, right? You're
Correct,
from Vegas.
Yes.
Your wife was here. You had a kid, is that right?
Yeah. At the time we had one. Now we have 2. So, while I was in school,
just
because
you like extra stress, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, take us through from I don't know, you get out, do preceptorship into what came after graduation and stuff, so people can kind of get an idea of where you're coming from.
Yeah. So, I started my preceptorship. I actually applied to do it a month early because while I was in school, I was traveling, commuting back and forth on the weekends.
Right.
So I convinced them that it would be better for my health to actually let me stay home. So I started.
They agreed as long as you kept paying tuition, right? That's how chiropractic college works.
Yeah. So I started my preceptorship an entire term early. I was at an awesome sports clinic here in Vegas. It was a doc that I'd been shadowing for a little while. Things were great. Went through, did, try 9 and 10, graduated. Mm-hmm. They offered me a position there.
So you'd worked there roughly 6 months, a little more than that?
Yeah, about 8, 9 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you graduated?
And then I graduated, had a position waiting for me. I was there for a few months. So I got licensed in March. So at that point is when I was, actually a doc. Was there for a couple months, and then some circumstances arose, and they unfortunately had to let me go. And so here I am thinking I had everything planned out, and it just absolutely blew up in my face.
So, where was the birth of the second child? Had they already been born? Your wife is 9 months pregnant when you
got? So she was 3 months pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
So so I have a kid that's about to be 5. I have a wife that's pregnant, and everything's just kind of seeming like it's falling apart. But so I had a kind of like a friend of a friend that owned a practice here in Vegas, so I went to work with him part-time so that he could go out and do some more stuff. So I was there a few days a week and was there for a few months, and then I had one of my previous patients from where I did my preceptorship at that was a chiropractor, Dr. Justine. She reached out to me and was like, hey, so I got offered a position of a lifetime. I'm leaving where I'm at. Do you have any interest in, maybe coming over and taking over my position?
So she had already worked at Lifetime for a couple of years and was moving on to do some work, here on the Vegas, work on the Strip, which that's our version of going into pro sports, right? Working on the performers is it's as close to professional sports, well, hell, I'd put in a Cirque du Soleil performer up against anybody as far as like athleticism. They're unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. So she so she got that opportunity. She'd been working with the doctor that treats Britney Spears and all the other big time celebrities on the Strip. So she was.
I thought you meant athletes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
stars. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So she sees the Cirque performers and stuff like that too. So.
But I mean, Britney Spears is a real athlete. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So she reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I don't know what your situation is, but would you be interested in this?" At the time, it was kind of where I was at was somewhat. It was easy. It was almost like on autopilot. So I was like, I'm not super interested, but I'll come down and take a look. And so I came down here on a Monday. She gave me the tour. I literally left, and as sitting in the parking lot, sent her a text message. And I'm like, all right, what do I got to do?
Wow.
So she had me She had me send her my resume Tuesday morning. The recruiter reached out to me Tuesday afternoon, did a Skype interview Wednesday with the recruiter, did a FaceTime interview with Dr. Reza, the CEO, Thursday morning, and 6:30 Friday morning, I had a phone call with a job offer. So
in 1 week, you went from basically, this will sound bad, you went from unemployed to running a clinic in 5 days' time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that either they graduate and, things don't work out like they thought, or what they end up, I've heard the story, a lot of people get an associateship, they go in and like, oh my God, this is nothing like what was promised. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you'll do sports every day and we never do sports, or there'll be plenty of people for you to work on and there's nobody, like all those things, right? How'd you handle that emotionally? Like, I mean, because you had everything lined up, you've been working at a place damn near a year by the time that they said it's just not going to happen moving forward, right?
Yeah, so, obviously there's that initial fear that sets in. I'm a very emotional person.
Yeah.
If you haven't picked that up about me.
Dude, I think everybody in healthcare is emotional. Like, right, we're willing to work with people because we care. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, luckily I had my wife there to kind of calm me down. She's like, just, take
Was she
a minute.
working at the time?
Yes. So my wife, she was working full time, and so that was one of the things that kind of helped out a little bit was, so she was.
Yeah, but that was coming to an end because she was going to deliver in, a month or something after you got that up?
A few months. So after that had happened, yeah. So
wow.
She, was essentially take your time, find something that you want to do, find a practice that, you're going to fit. Don't just take the first job offer that's out there. And
you're like, I remember why I married you.
Yeah.
Like this kind of stuff right here.
Yes, she's the one that keeps me level and
thank God.
keel. Otherwise, I'd go crazy. So, so she was a big part of what kind of helped with that emotion. But, that initial emotion is, a lot of fear, especially when, you have a family and, another kid on the way. So, that fear sets in. You want to cry a little bit. But,
And I think, I would guess your ego takes a blow, right? I mean, you've trained for this thing to be a doctor, and then it's like your license didn't get taken away, but your future essentially gets snatched from you, and you're like, what the hell? Like, this isn't how it's supposed to go.
Huge blow to your ego, that's for sure. So it's a very humbling experience. So, I mean, you can look at it as, it's a blow to your ego, or, it's a learning experience that humbles you.
Yeah. All right. So you made it through, and so let me pause real quick. I always try and ask my guests to do something. If anybody's going through that, you got a young person that graduated, can they reach out to you and maybe email you or something if they're, graduated and life got snatched from them? Can you be the wise sage that's just a few steps ahead and be like, would you talk to them?
Yeah, of course I would.
Awesome.
I'll give you my email address. You can have them reach out to me.
Yeah, we'll throw it in the show notes too. So
yeah, of course.
Cool. All right. So you have the the greatest week of your life. Tour Monday, hired Friday. And so then because it is a corporate gig, just because you're hired, it doesn't mean that you get hired Friday and you start Monday, right? Like you had to travel back. Where'd you go? Midwest or something for training?
Minnesota.
So okay.
I literally got hired on Friday, had to book a flight for like 9 days later.
Okay.
Flew out to Minnesota on a Sunday night. Like a week later, flew out on a Sunday night and was there for the week for training. It just happened. It probably would have been, another week, but that was the week that they were training new docs.
Okay. So you weren't the only guy?
No. So there were 6 of us because there were a couple other clinics that were opening throughout the country.
Okay.
So there was a total of six chiros there for that training.
So what did you get what was your impression of the other 6 or the other 5? Like, are these all younger grads? Are they experienced people? Are they? Because I've been to one life clinic, and it was a guy that basically retired and just works there a couple days a week. So my perspective is either Thomas, it's just graduated a year ago, or this dude that basically had 30 years of experience and wanted to go down to 2 days a week.
Yeah. So they want someone with experience when they're hiring you.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, you have to be out of school for a minimum of certain years. I was fortunate enough to kind of work around that just because of some of the certs that I had
That's cool.
gotten through school. So, I had some of the experience and the knowledge to do it, but it was kind of across the spectrum.
Okay.
Really nobody that was like, up in their like 50s, 60s that were coming in. But you had, a couple new grads. I was probably the newest grad out of everybody there. You had a couple that had been out for a couple years and were at practices that they just didn't like.
Were they pretty straight folks? Were they pretty progressive?
No, they're definitely
all
progressive.
FTCA members? Like, what are we looking at here?
I don't know if they're FTCA members or not.
You weren't pushing the group? Come on, man.
I was honestly just so overwhelmed by everything that was going on that week that just kind of kept my head down and tried to
so
learn.
compared to being in a small family run practice, I know the practice that you'd worked for right out of school. It's like a husband, wife, and couple employees, good people. Compared to that, what was it like? Training 6 doctors at once, like the corporate kind of setting. Like, what was the difference there?
The thing about Dr. Reza is he makes you feel like your family. And
This is the guy in Minnesota that's kind of the director of all these clinics.
Yeah, he's the CEO of Life Clinic itself.
Okay. Yep.
That was one of the things that kind of drew me to Life Clinic as well, is when you look at just kind of how everything is set up and the way it's built, it very much felt like a family-oriented thing. So
that's cool.
He was very close to us. He was very open and honest the whole time, and so it made you feel a lot closer to him. And the guys that I was there with were, we all kind of have the same, values and alignment when we talk about things. So it was a little bit easier to get to know them and get along with them.
All right. And what kind of training did they do?
So we did one of the biggest things was SFMA. So we did a lot of SFMA training.
Nice.
Top tier tests, breakouts. That was kind of like the biggest thing that we did during that time frame. We also went over like new patient exams and re-exams and report of findings. And
so a lot of it is clinical training. It's not just business operations and backside.
It was 100%. I think we spent maybe a couple hours going over like operations, but you get a binder that's about an inch and a half thick that goes over all the chiro touch and all the other
the operational manual.
Yeah. So you only get a few hours. That everything else is literally clinical. This is care plans and report of findings, exams, SFMA, treatment, that kind of stuff like that.
Okay. And was any of it like groundbreaking? Like anything you were looking at going, wow, this is so different?
So when I was at my previous practice, we did SFMA top tier. We really didn't do any of the breakouts. So when we went through and we're learning all the breakouts and stuff like that, like to me it was new, but like it was just so awesome to see because you literally just pinpoint each little thing that someone had and what needed to be worked on. And we would essentially do an assessment without really knowing anything about them and say, okay, this is what's going on. And they're like, yeah, I've had low back issues for years, and so that totally makes sense. And so doing the SFMA was super cool to really learn about that.
Okay. And then how about treatment wise? Like, I mean, manipulation and whatnot is obviously core to what we do, but was there, any other like included treatments that they've kind of put together as information about, hey, this works really well? Because one of the cool things about their setting is they've got 40 or 50 chiros out in the field, so they're getting upstream information, right? They're going, hey, this works really well. That kind of doesn't work that well. So, but there's very few settings where chiropractors are in that, where there's multiple, maybe Arasti and a few others are big groups of chiros. But, I mean, it's really hard to collect information because everybody does it independently and does it differently.
Yeah, so there's kind of like a general like treatment method that they want you doing. It's called IMJT, which is Integrative Muscle and Joint Therapy.
Okay.
which is essentially it's just soft tissue, but a lot of it is like soft tissue with kind of like PNF stretching, like at the end to kind of like really reset the muscle and reactivate the muscle.
So not just working on the soft tissue, but actually going through range of motion or positions.
Yeah, and getting them to activate the muscle, after you've gone through and treated it.
Awesome.
To really reestablish that motor control of it. So that was kind of like the biggest like treatment aspect. Other than that, you kind of have your own ways of doing things. Obviously, cupping, hypervolt, Graston. Really, as long as you kind of like follow along like the preset like ways of treatment, that's kind of like the big thing that they get at.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, so you do this week of training, and then you come back and you got this massive clinic. I mean, this whole gym is 250,000 square feet. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's friggin' water slides out at the outdoor pool, and oh, by the way, there's 2 indoor pools, and there's 4 hot tubs. There's 8 tennis courts inside. I think there's another 6 outside.
I think another 8 outside.
8 outside?
Yeah.
I mean, this place is massive, and the clinic is how many square feet total?
It's a good question.
It's like 3,000 or 3,500.
It's a larger clinic. There used to be some medical doctors that were in there as well for like the proactive side.
Yeah.
And
it was originally chiro, PT, medical doctor, and team integration, right? Like there's a meeting room in there. Like
so Life Clinic itself is physical therapy and chiropractic. So at this specific clinic, we have a physical therapist and then myself. And then Lifetime has what's called proactive. So where they do a lot more.
They do like regenerative medicine, right? Like IVs and Myers cocktails and stem cells and all that.
Yeah,
stuff,
DEXA
right?
scans and all that fun stuff. So that didn't end up working out at this location. So our room, there's 6 total like treatment rooms in there, and only 2 of them are being used right now by us. So there's plans to kind of do a little bit of a remodel and change some of that around to open up some more space. But
all right. Cool. And I always joke like this is the biggest clinic gym hybrid in the world because it's like 250,000 square foot gym, and I think it's a 3,000 square foot clinic. It might be 3,500 with that conference room you have in there and stuff.
Yep.
The lobby's not small, but it's just kind of hidden away. Anyway, so you come in here. The previous chiro was leaving, right? And you certainly have a ton of people. Membership here is not cheap, so it's kind of pre-qualifying all the people you can work with. What have you learned so far about the business aspect of it, like filling your schedule? Because I know that there's a lot of people out there going, oh, I want to fill my schedule and blah, 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 blah. And your schedule is doing pretty well right now, right?
Yeah, so when the other chiro left, there was kind of this like thought that I was walking into like a full schedule already and, was going to be seeing 15, 20 patients a day, and that wasn't the case. So I essentially had to kind of build the clinic from the ground up because at the same time she left, the physical therapist went on maternity leave. And so a lot of the patients were kind of seeing both the physical therapist and the chiropractor and having both things.
Co-treat?
Yeah, we're having like co-treated.
In our state, PT can do dry needling, chiro can't.
Correct.
Right, so
Dr. Krista, the physical therapist, would do a lot of the dry needling, a lot of the rehab exercise stuff. I would do, Dr. Justine would do a lot of the soft tissue and then the adjusting. And so, so kind of had to rebuild the clinic from the ground up. So
all alone because Dr. Chris is out on maternity.
Yep. So, Dr. Krista left, Dr. Justine left. So here I am. It's just me and our, like, front desk clinic coordinator.
Yeah.
And it's like, go build a clinic.
Like, easy.
Yeah, right? It's no problem.
How hard could this be?
One of the first things I did.
Hey, man, in 1 week you went from basically unemployed to clinic director now, so that's what we want every week.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I really worked on was going after the personal trainers.
Smart.
Talking with them. I mean, personal training here is not cheap, and so they deal with a lot of people.
And when you say personal trainers, there's what, 25 of them on staff, 30?
50 of them.
50?
Yeah, there's like 50, 52 personal trainers on staff.
Holy smokes.
So there's a lot.
Wow.
So met with them, talked to them a little bit about what we did, offered to have them come in.
So the recipe right here, right? Like, Build relationships, take care of them.
Yep. So SFMA is kind of like the biggest part of our exam that we use.
Yeah.
And so because we really build ourselves up on being a movement-based clinic instead of being a pain-based clinic, which is what a lot of chiropractic is known for.
Yeah,
is,
sure.
It hurts here, so that's where I'm going to work.
Right.
We really pride ourselves on being movement-based, and so that was one of the things, getting the trainers on board with that, so having them come in, offering the free exam, and then, the first treatment we were also, doing for free as well. So that way they had an idea of what we did in the clinic.
Cool.
And then they could start, talking to their people as far as, oh, yeah, I know, this person has this issue. And so we started getting some referrals from there. It took a few weeks. It took a little bit of
But weeks is nothing, man. It's not a year and a half,
No, yeah. And so there's definitely a return of investment on that, which was awesome. And then really just one of the biggest things that a lot of people have kind of mentioned to me is just being up there in the gym floor, whether you're working out or talking with the trainers, just being there and being a part of it and really immersing yourself in the community is what really got a lot of the trainers like, hey, like, he knows what we do, he knows what we're going through, so, and what we're putting our people through, so we're going to send him our people.
It's funny.
So
I was just talking to a golf pro a couple weeks ago, and she said in 1 month, she's like, I had 6 chiropractors come by and give me their business card. And she said, but none of them spent any time with me on the range. None of them. And I just had Lindsay Becker on the podcast, and she's a PT out in Columbus, Ohio. It was a huge golf practice, and she just happened to mention offhand, I said, how'd you build it? And she's like, well, I would just go out and spend time on the range with the golf pros, Yeah. And so they realized that she understands what they're talking about. It wasn't that Lindsay's trying to take anybody, And I think that recipe, no matter if it's personal trainers and you getting out on the gym floor, getting on the golf course, you and I have talked about baseball before. If you want to work on a baseball team, one of these high-end like travel teams where the parents are paying a couple grand a year to have that kid on the team, probably going to a few practices and just watching like what goes on does a lot to build that relationship, even though you're not right then interacting with the coach or interacting with the players, but they get to the point where they believe that you actually understand what's going on. I mean, in some sense, like a lumbar strain is a lumbar strain, whether it's from tennis or, like baseball or cleaning up your kid's room.
Yeah.
But if I understand that, it's like, I saw that baseball game where you strained it. All of a sudden, I'm now more of an expert, right? Like, oh, he actually gets it.
Well, and the kind of the other thing too is that when you really look at it, personal trainers are very, they're personal. So getting to know them on that personal level and that one-on-one level, it shows that, at least to them, they perceive that you have a genuine interest and concern in what they do. Mm-hmm. And so, like for me, so I'm a CrossFit guy. Mm-hmm. So here at Lifetime, Alpha is kind of like our CrossFit type workouts, right? And so for me, really getting to know the Alpha trainers and talking with them about different things, learning from them, because obviously they're the experts at that. They're the ones that are, certified in that kind of coaching. So learning from them on how to do things really gives that perception and that thought that, I care about what they do. And so they care about what I do. They come in for treatment all the time. And so it's kind of that
I'm sure that
respect.
In their mind, they still have that fear of if they refer somebody to for an injury, that, that person's going to be gone for 4 to 6 weeks. And, they probably have some fear of losing some income because of that, or losing a client. Like, because personal trainers work their ass off to get clients, so.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I kind of pushed to them right from the very beginning was, if you send someone to me, I'm not going to tell them to stop working out. Right. There's going to be things, and so we actually have what's called a trainer recommendation form, and it's certain things that they should avoid for now, certain things that they should modify, things that they should train. So based off the SFMA and what's going on, I can say, hey, this is what you should be doing. I would stay away from this for a couple weeks until we really hammer things out. But I thought to myself, I will never tell your client to stop working out unless it's like going to really, really hurt them.
Sure. Yeah.
And even then, I'm going to tell them, stay away from that. Do something else that isn't going to cause them to break their leg or cause permanent damage.
Which is what the client wants. I mean, if they're coming to Alpha or they're coming to a personal trainer, they're interested, obviously, in staying fit and working out. They don't want to stop either. So, modification is fine. Like, hey, instead of squats, we'll do X, but But just saying stop is neither party's going to be happy with that. And I don't think you're going to retain that client very long.
No, yeah. So, like, perfect example, like my hip impingement. I have a couple of patients that have hip impingement. Instead of talking to them and, saying, okay, well, you should just stop squatting. Don't ever do that again. Now it's like, hey, let's modify and do, like, maybe box squats to where we're not going full depth. You're still getting the work and you're still doing it. You're just not putting that much stress on your hip.
Hey, it's Dr. Josh, and real quick, we'll get right back to that interview, but I definitely want to tell you all about our Super Conference. It's coming up on April 13th and 14th in Austin, Texas. Now, what is it and what makes it so awesome? Well, it's super. That's why it's called the Super Conference, and it's super because we've combined two of the greatest models in all of the clinic gym hybrid space, and that is the Accelerator program. We are putting it live into an event, and you're going over everything we cover in an Accelerator live. Now, we can't go as in-depth as the online training, but we're going to give you an overview on Saturday about how to run the business side of the operation. And then on Sunday, we have partnered with the CFSC, the Certified Functional Strength Coach Program, and they are teaching a course all about the exercise to do and the progressions and regressions to do with your clients. So you combine those two models, the best exercise program with the best business model, and you have an absolute super conference. So I hope you can join us April 13th and 14th in Austin, Texas. Go to our website, clinicgymhybrid.com, and look for the button that says Super Conference. Once again, clinicgymhybrid.com, and there's the button right at the top that says, tell me about the Super Conference. Click there. You got all the info. Thanks a lot. We'll get right back to that interview.
And so as you built up those relationships with the personal trainer, so for that young chiro out there that's looking to build up in their community, were there any surprises along the way?
Yeah. I mean, I kept hearing that, the transition wouldn't have gone as smooth if it wasn't for the fact that I was up there. I was getting to know them.
So they were surprised that you were actually participating, number one.
Yeah, they were very surprised that I was up there participating.
So
and
for those young docs out there, I'd say get the hell out of your office, swallow your pride, and just spend time with somebody. Because it's not, you weren't up there shoving business cards in everybody's face, right?
To be honest, I think the first time I actually took business cards up there was last week after being here for almost 2.5 months.
Yeah.
And I literally just took them up there because one of the trainers had asked me to bring some up. So I took them up and just put them on there's like a giant rack that just has every personal trainer's business cards.
Yeah.
And so I literally just set it in there and, so I mean, they have access to it. But, I mean, the kind of like the usual business tactics that you would think of trying to get people in, it, doesn't work here. So you really
But the good old, hey, build relationships and take care of people, that certainly lasted the test of time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been probably the biggest builder when it's
Now, do you go up there during the business day? I mean, so you go up there to work out, right? So you work out. It's kind of a sweet gig. You work out. You're the only person in a clinic gym hire where I'm comfortable you having showers because someone else paid for them and built them and maintains them, and you don't have to. So for those listening, unless you have that set up, do not put in showers.
Yeah.
But you got to show up to the gym and then, you take a shower and works 20 feet out the locker room door, right?
Yeah. So, I'll go up, work out. If I notice that I have a little bit of time in my schedule, like an hour and a half, or during lunch, I'll go upstairs, I'll work out, and then come back down, shower, and just be ready to finish out the day.
Nice. Do you go up there in breaks in your schedule? Will you go up and talk to the coaches or go upstairs? So let's back up for a second. It's a huge gym. The clinic is downstairs, as is the locker room. Mm-hmm. And you go upstairs, and the upstairs is the main quote-unquote gym floor, right? That's where the free weights are. That's where Alpha is. That's where yoga studio is, all that. Do you end up going up there during the workday a lot?
Yeah, so I've found that one of the things that, I have a lot of the personal trainers' phone numbers, so if I had a question, I could just shoot them a text message and be like, hey, so what do you think about this? But one of the things that I've really tried to focus on, especially over the past month, is if I have that question, go up there, find them. If they're not busy, go and talk to them and ask them. Yeah. That face-to-face
so much more powerful, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome. Any chance of you moving the office up there, by the way, in the old the metabolic area?
No, none at all.
Really?
We will stay where we're at. I like where we're at. So
it's great for treatment. The only thing is, it's just hidden from the view of everybody.
Yeah, but you have to pass it when you walk in. You literally walk right by.
But they don't see your face. They just see the front desk. Hopefully, they see the front desk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that giant digital signage that's out there. We're still waiting for them to put up my picture, but, you know.
I'd like to see you have a table right in the damn middle of the alpha area. It'd probably be overrun, though, you know?
Yeah, it'd be pretty busy. So actually, I was upstairs on Sunday working we had an indoor triathlon.
Nice.
And so I offered to treat up there, and, you know, within the 3-4 hour span, I saw probably like 20 people.
That's awesome.
It was insane is what it was, but it was.
And the good news is, like, you know, they know where your office is because it's at the very gym where they had to be members to participate, right?
Yep.
So sweet,
no,
dude.
they didn't have to be members.
Oh, they didn't?
Nope.
Okay.
So that was one of the cool things. So we did have a couple people that you know weren't members. That
along that, can people who are outside in the community come in to see you, or can you only work on members?
No, we can see people from outside. So
you can.
That's kind of one of the cool things. So technically, for the time being, Life Clinic is a separate entity from Lifetime.
Right. It's like a licensing agreement, right? Like
so I know we're in the process of merging with Lifetime to all be under kind of one corporate umbrella.
But they probably have some hesitancy there because of the liability of patient care.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I leave that for the corporate.
Yeah.
You know, people that get paid a lot more than need to figure that out. Yeah, we see people. So we're in network with 4 different insurance companies. So United Healthcare, Aetna, Medicare, and then America's PPO is the one that a lot of the Lifetime employees have.
Okay.
Which is like phenomenal for chiropractic care. It's
really?
Insane. Yeah, their copay is like $15. So we're in network with 4 different insurances. Everybody else we're kind of out of network with. But yeah, you can come in. They check in at the front desk, and then they just guide them down to where the clinic's at. And
awesome.
Come in. Yeah.
Nice. And if you don't, I don't know how much you're willing to share, but I'll ask the question anyways. As far as like how your set up, your salary is set up, or pay is set up, is it straight salary? Is it salary plus performance? Is it all performance based? How does it work?
So to start, they start you at salary. So like a lot of the people that they brought in.
So when you have a second kid and you haven't had a job for a while, you're not freaking out?
Yeah. So you know, when they a lot of the people that they're bringing in are going into brand new clinics that are just opening.
Sure.
And so they give them that salary to kind of have that like peace of mind.
Yeah.
You know, while they're building the clinic up. And then after a certain point, they turn it into more of like a compensation percentage based type thing.
Okay.
Salary plus performance.
Yeah.
It all kind of gets worked out, you know, a little bit later.
So when you kind of extrapolate it out and you see that a couple years from now when you've really, you know, everybody here is on first name basis with you and you really have good relationships, you foresee yourself making a decent living?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
it's kind of a sweet deal. I mean, you don't have the stress of the facility, right? Like, and you have this ability to make a lot of money, and you have especially in a large, like this is a massive gym with, I can't remember, there's something like 6,000 or 8,000 memberships, which means 15,000 members, right? Yeah. They do it weird. They say, I was talking to Kevin, the GM, and he said the number of memberships is not, but every membership has like people in kids club and people in tennis, like. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, 15,000 members. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, very rarely is any chiropractor in a pre-selected group of 15,000 active people, right? They're not going to be members here unless they're fairly active.
Yeah.
And then of that 15,000, there's got to be 2,500 that are very active. I mean, like, you got people upstairs that are in alpha like 4 or 5 days a week. Yep. You got people playing tennis 5 days a week. They'll spend so much time here at the club. Somebody was telling me, the old GM Alex was telling me that what was it? That there's a subset of membership. So membership here is like 120 a month per person.
Yeah, rough. I think
so. It's like $250 a month for a couple. And he said that there's a subset that is spending well over $2,000 a month when you add up lessons, alpha, membership, services, salon, food, beverage, all that stuff. But that's music to your ears, right? Because those same people probably are, if they're working out, their desire is to work out 5 days a week, they certainly want to keep their body moving, right? And if they can do that all in one place, they can get their hair done, eat a great meal, get a workout, and get work done by you, right?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of like an all-in-one encompassing place, and that's, you know, when you talk about like people that are spending that much money, it's, you know, this gym alone. So the first time I pulled in, kind of like backtrack a little bit, the first time I pulled in, when I came in for that tour, I pulled into a spot and I'm looking at the cars around me, and it's like BMW, Benz, Volkswagen, and Escalade. And so you're just like,
yeah,
here I am in my little, Hyundai Sonata.
Yeah.
So you feel a little bit out of place. But
right. You threw the door open and put a ding in the Lamborghini next to you. And
yeah.
oh, shit.
But yeah, no. So it's definitely an encompassing place that people have no problem spending the money to take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So if you were to if you're going back to speak at like LACC, what would you tell those, like, because I don't know how many classmates of yours were considering the corporate gig, right? But I know that Lifetime's doing it. There's some hospitals trying to do these fitness and clinic kind of blends. There's some other large fitness chains trying to get into this because their membership is asking for that performance-based care, not just like you said, they're the movement-based rather than pain-based. But certainly these opportunities exist. Do you think it's worth pursuing those people if you were to tell your classmates?
100%, man. It is, it's not what I expected. Obviously coming out of school, you have this vision of what you want to do.
Yeah.
And, things kind of change a little bit. But, I mean, the corporate side I don't want to say it's like less stress, because obviously you're still having to go out and do the work to bring in people, but you're not necessarily doing 100% of the work of the actual business side of it and having to worry about, paying the rent and, keeping the lights on. You really get to focus on
cleaning the place and all that.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, that's a whole nother story. We have issues with that, but it's one of the nice things that we get to focus on, really bringing in patients and working on kind of like the marketing aspect and then treatment. That's, to me, that's my favorite thing is treatment. I love being able to go treat somebody and not have to really worry about that other stuff. So, I mean, to be able to have kind of like the autonomy that we do here, but still have that corporate backing, it's pretty awesome.
It's cool, man. Well, that's awesome. And kind of a good, it's funny, your plan wasn't to get, for the other gig to end, but it's worked out better that it did, huh?
Yeah, it's worked out better than I could have ever imagined. So
that's awesome.
It's been pretty cool.
All right. Well, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they reach out to you? I know you're active. You're pretty active in the FCCA page, right?
Yeah, I
not as active now that you're fully employed, but you were.
Yeah, I like to throw my 2 cents in every now and then, kind of stir the pot occasionally.
But if you see them in there, like, and you're thinking about this corporate gig, or maybe if somebody like is considering an opportunity with Lifetime, because, like you said, Lifetime's in the Midwest and East. There are a lot more locations, and a lot of those are adding life clinics, right?
Yeah, so I think the agreement now is pretty much every new Lifetime that's being built is going to have a clinic built into it. And I know a lot of clinics, or a lot of the gyms are kind of going back through and retrofitting and putting ones in. So I think right now, I know like June of last year, there were like 24 clinics, and by the end of the year, there were 36. Okay. So it was it's quite a bit of expansion going 50%, on.
50%, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
And do you
awesome.
think in the future, so there's one PT, one chiro here. Excuse me, do you think in the future we'll have 2 PTs, or 2 plus 2, or?
I think the 1-in-1 set kind of works best. There's
how close to a full schedule are you right now?
I'd say probably
80%.
Say like 60 to 70. So like a full schedule for me.
That's after 3 months, dude. Like
a full schedule for me
2
would
years
be,
of this.
Like,
you might need a second chiro here,
Yeah, so a full schedule for me would be somewhere around like 18 to 20 a day.
Yeah.
And right now I'm seeing between like 10 to 12 a day.
Yeah.
So, it's, for
80 to 100, and 100 to 120 are the averages I see in consulting. 100 to 100, well, I should say 100 to 140 is you actively have an assistant. Somebody that's doing rehab for you or peeling off, but by yourself, like you're doing it, just you alone. 80 to 100 is the national average, and based on repayments. But it sounds like your repayments are pretty good. You certainly must have a lot of people willing to pay cash too, right? Because you're only in network with a few.
Yeah. So, and I think that's one of the things that, not to kind of like, harp on the SFMA, but when you really talk about the SFMA and being able to explain,
I love the
exactly
SFMA,
what's
baby.
going on with
that's
them.
why I teach it.
Yeah,
it's
right?
Awesome. So, talk all you want about it. functionalmovement.com/SFMA, like find a course.
Yeah. So when you really talk about like the SFMA, and it makes it so much easier to be able to talk to the patient at the same level as them, and for them to be like, I'm on board. Let's do this.
Right.
And so a lot of times they have no issue, paying the cash rate. And I mean, our cash rate's pretty reasonable. So it's, it's.
And again, you're with a pre-selected group of clients. You're not in a broke part of town.
Yeah. We are in kind of the
you're in a luxury,
more affluent area of town. So a lot of people have zero problem, giving out the at time of service rate without any issue.
Yeah. When you're making, $150K a year, you're still going to be in the bottom half of the people walking in this building.
It's true.
They'll be like, "Oh yeah, I paid that much in tax last year.
Yeah.
I mean, last quarter."
Yeah, it's true. We have.
There's some pretty affluent people here, but they're all nice, and they're certainly they're very
awesome.
Interested in their health. They're another way to say it. Their life is worth a lot, and they're willing to pay to keep it maintained.
Yeah.
So that's
I
awesome.
mean, if they're interested in their health, I'm interested in them. So
there you go.
That's all that matters.
Cool. So once again, how can people reach out to you?
So they can email me, thomasgodfrey10@gmail.com.
Slow that down. So it's Thomas
Godfrey10@gmail.com.
And Godfrey is Godfrey.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Or, you can find me on Facebook. On the FTCA page quite often. Those are kind of like the biggest ways. If you want to reach out, send me a message, and you want to talk over the phone or whatever, I'm more than happy to give you my phone number.
Yep.
And we can, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
This is awesome, dude. Well, I'm excited for you because those people. We had lunch during. You had. When do we have lunch?
Just after they let me go.
Yeah.
So
you weren't exactly in the best position. I think you owe me lunch because I bought that day, right?
Yeah. I do.
That's right. But it's very cool for me to see, like, at that time you seemed very young and scared and, didn't know what you want to do, right? And then you seem like things are going well, and I wish you the best. And
thank you.
I think the one thing I will take away from this is there are so many opportunities out there now for chiropractors, not just this corporate gig, but like you said, you were working at another clinic just kind of on autopilot for a couple days a week. And, if you're hurting for work out there, like I think going to some experienced clinician, that was a very small bit in your story, but offering them to take a couple afternoons or a couple days off, exchange, like that's a good way to at least keep your feet wet.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things it really taught me was because it was more of a high volume practice. Still did soft tissue and all that stuff like that. But it taught me to be more efficient with my time because, you only have 10 minutes with each patient, at that point. So it's, you got to be very efficient with what you're treating, what you're going through and doing. And so that really helped me to learn just be more efficient with my time and what I'm doing.
All right. Very cool. All right. Well, on behalf of Dr. Thomas Godfrey, this is Dr. Josh Satterlee saying go out there, maximize your license, and live the life you dream of. Thanks a lot, Thomas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, how about that? Another great interview here on Clinic Gym Radio. Listen, if you're serious about starting up your own Clinic Gym Hybrid, then please go to clinicgymhybrid.com and check out our website there. We also love to get you involved in our accelerator program, which will walk you through step-by-step the 42 pieces you need to start your own Clinic Gym Hybrid. I'm Dr. Josh Satterlee. We'll talk to you later.